Somehow, na'udhu billah, as though we are Allah and Allah is our slave. Understand, you are the slaves. Allah is samad, Allah is dependent. You have to fulfill the conditions, and then the help of Allah descends. That's when the help of Allah descends. Not that you do nothing and you go on lackadaisically in your lives. Dunya is your maqsad. You don't learn anything about your deen, and somehow Allah is obliged to help you. Allah is the Lord. Allah is Khaliq. Allah is Malik. Allah does not require to help anybody. And your numbers don't make any difference. You can be 1.6 million, 1.2 billion. They don't make any difference. Your power, your wealth doesn't make any difference. What counts in the eyes of Allah is your quality, not your quantity. Your substance. And this is why Allah says, كَم مِّن فِئَةٍ قَلِيلَةٍ غَلَبَتْ فِئَةً كَثِيرَةً بِإِذْنِ اللَّهِ. How often do you see that a small group of people, a small regiment defeats a large regiment? Why? With the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. With the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In the time of Khalid bin Walid, in the battle of Yarmouk, this was the ultimate battle. After this day, the Christians never came into the Arab Peninsula. The Muslims were 41,000. And the conservative estimate of the Romans were that they were 140,000. And Khalid bin Walid was checking his ranks. He was checking his men. And he walked past this young soldier who was looking at the Roman soldiers and their army. And he marveled at their numbers and how much weapons they had. And he said, how many are the Christians and how few are the Muslims? And Khalid bin Walid radiyallahu anhu said, don't say that. For say, how many are the Muslims and how few are the Romans and the Christians? Because weakness comes from being forsaken by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Weakness comes from being forsaken by Allah. If you lose Allah, you lose everything. You lose everything. And if you attain the one Allah, you have everything. After the battle of the Murtaddeen, Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu told Khalid bin Walid, now the superpower of the day, the superpower, the Persians are waiting. And he said, go and deal with them, but allow your men, those who want to go home, because they fought many battles, to go home. And Khalid bin Walid made the announcement. He has 13,000 men. Out of those 13,000 men, 11,000 decided to go. He only had 2,000 men, and he was going to face the superpower, the Persians. And he wrote a letter to Umar ibn Khattab, and he said, "Oh Amir al-Mu'mineen, I've only got 2,000 men left." And Umar and Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu sent a reinforcement in the shape of how many men? He sent a reinforcement in the shape of one person, Qaqa ibn Amr, for 11,000 men. And the Sahaba said, "Oh Abu Bakr, what you doing? What you doing? 11,000 men, and you are replacing them with one man?" And he said, "Yes, because those ranks which have the likes of Qaqa ibn Amr will never be forsaken by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because these were men of substance. And by Allah, these people were never forsaken by Allah. You never had the concept of Guantanamo Bay, Belmarsh. You were never humiliated in the time of Umar ibn Abdul Aziz. One Muslim prisoner was humiliated in the Byzantine lands. And the news reached Umar ibn Abdul Aziz. And Umar ibn Abdul Aziz wrote a letter to the governor. And he said, "Before you place this letter down, free that Muslim prisoner. For by Allah, I will send an army which begins here and ends where you are." There was never a time, really, there was never a time like what happens in Israel and Palestine in the time of Mu'tasim. One Muslim lady was slapped in the Byzantine lands, and she cried out, "Wa Mu'tasima!" And the Romans began to laugh, and they said, "Why are you calling Mu'tasim? He's thousands of miles away. You think he's going to jump on his black and white horse and come and save you?" And the news reached Mu'tasim. The news reached Mu'tasim, and Mu'tasim sent an entire army for the izzah of one Muslim lady. And he told every single one of them, he said, "Each one of you climb, and when you go on a black and white horse." And you look how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala turns the tables. Wallahi, one Israeli soldier gets kidnapped, who by international law is upholding an illegal occupation, and the Israelis follow the sunnah of Mu'tasim, and they send their entire army. They send their entire army. But the difference between their army and Mu'tasim's army is that Mu'tasim's army didn't terrorize women and children. They didn't knock out electricity plants. They didn't terrorize innocent women and children. And this is the reality. Because why? Because see, actions are which count by Allah. People of substance are which count by Allah. As long as you are heavy in the scales of Allah, you will be fruitful. You will be fruitful. And when you drop in the scales of Allah, then you will have no weight by Allah. You can be 1.6 billion. But Allah, as the Prophet ﷺ defined, you will be ghufa ka ghufa as-sayl. The Prophet ﷺ said, last night I saw a dream. And I saw a dream in Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu was being weighed. And the rest of the ummah was being weighed. And Abu Bakr was heavier than the rest of the ummah. And then I saw Umar ibn Khattab being weighed. And then I saw the rest of the ummah being weighed. And Umar ibn Khattab was heavier than the entire ummah. And then in another narration, the Prophet ﷺ said, a time will come, you will be ghufa ka ghufa as-sayl. You will be like the frost, not even the frost. The frost is too good for you. You will be like the twigs and the rubbish in the frost. And the Sahaba said, will we be small in number? And the Prophet ﷺ said, you will be huge in number. Maybe he meant you will be over 1 billion in number. But you will be ghufa, you will be the scum of the earth. You will be a spent entity, the fifth columners of humanity. Why? Why is it that one man, Abu Bakr and Umar, are heavier than the entire ummah? And the entire ummah is light as the frost, over 1 billion in number. Why? Because see, their concern was the akhirah. Their concern was to attain the pleasure of Allah. And the Prophet ﷺ says, whoever has one concern, and that concern is the akhirah, Allah will suffice him in all his concerns. All his concerns. And whoever concern is the dunya, then the Prophet ﷺ said, Allah will give him unto his concerns. وَلَمْ يُبَالِ اللَّهِ فِي أَيِّ وَادٍ يَمُوتٍ. And Allah doesn't care where he drops dead. Allah doesn't care where he drops dead. Allah has no time for that person. And therefore, we are people, we are ummah. We aspire for Jannah. We aspire for the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And therefore we have to be people of actions. We must always aspire for the highest. Always the highest. Second best is not good enough for this ummah. Really. Second best. When the Prophet ﷺ taught the Sahaba, he said, ask for Jannah. What did he say? He didn't say ask for Jannah. He said, when you ask for Jannah, ask for what Jannah? Ask for Jannatul Firdaus, the highest. The highest. When you make a dua, the Quranic duas, when Allah says, رَبَّنَا هَبْ لَنَا مِنْ أَزْوَاجِنَا وَذُرِّيَّاتِنَا قُرَّةَ أَعْيُنٍ وَجَعَلْنَا لِلْمُتَّقِينَ إِمَامًا. You ask, oh Allah, make our partners and our children the coolness of our eyes, and make us the imam of the muttaqeen. The imam. You ask him to become the imam of the muttaqeen, because believers always aspire for the highest. You always aspire for the highest. And the problem is that, any situation, we wait for somebody else to resolve the situation. Somebody else is going to help and assist. The masjid are in a state of total dysfunction. It's not our duty, it's somebody else's duty. People are dying to death in the Muslim world or in the non-Muslims. It's not our duty, it's somebody else's duty. How Umar ibn Khattab is not going to come today. Abu Bakr as-Siddiq is not going to come. Aisha and Khadija are not going to come. Today, if there are any heroes, you people have to become the heroes of Islam. You have to learn about your deen. And then you have to translate those knowledge into actions. The problem is that we don't translate, we talk. How often do you see brothers, they're talking for hours about the decadence of the Muslim ummah. Come Fajr Salah, you can't wake up for the Fajr Salah. You can't wake up for the Fajr Salah. You can't change yourself, and you're talking about changing the world. There is something which is withholding.